What's up, guys? We are back with another Marvel Legends review, taking a look at a recent exclusive that I've really been looking forward to, mostly just because of the nostalgia tied to it and the fact that the figure, while being a repaint, is still a really solid figure. So we're taking a look at the exclusive modular Iron Man figure, and it comes in pretty interesting packaging. Honestly, they're sending mixed signals with this one because this definitely sort of is not the norm when it comes to the new plastic-free packaging. It does come in a cardboard box that basically mimics a retro style package. So you've got, like renders of Iron Man on the front. You've got the classic sort of, cartoon artwork as well as that vintage line artwork. And then the back looks like an old card back with all of his accessories and sort of like instructions on how everything goes together. But it's not a plastic-free box either. It's really weird. As much as I like this, it's kind of odd. So it comes in a retro card still too, which I guess I didn't realize or I forgot about. And it just seems really weird to me that you get this whole deal and we're still getting this, even though of course it does come with that big Proton Cannon. So we still get a retro carded figure in a bubble, and it's basically the same thing here. So this is an interpretation of this basically, even so far as having the exact same backer card art. So I still get the fun of ripping open a retro card, and we get the fun of opening this little extra box also, because again, he does come with the Proton Cannon, and it comes in its own little box to allow it to sort of sit on top when it's inside the cardboard outer box. So a lot of packaging here. Again, kind of mixed signals with the whole move to plastic free, but I do still really like this, and I really love this retro card. Not enough to buy two of them, but yeah, this is pretty wild. I'm very much happy with this. Very nostalgic, and I just like the presentation and that artwork. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our retro modular Iron Man. So, again, this guy is basically just a repaint. He's not 100% a repaint. There is some slightly new stuff here to make this version a little bit more unique. But if you got the version that came in the Ursa Major Bath Wave, you basically know what to expect here, which is to say, still probably one of my favorite Iron Man figures. Like this one, I really like this guy. He's still a very normal figure despite being, a lot of new construction. But it's a really good Iron Man figure. And this, of course, presents some new stuff and just a different colorway, a different idea. And then, of course, we do have to talk about that massive cannon we get. So let's quickly run through articulation because, again, this is a fairly normal Legends figure. So we've got a head that can look up really good, so you can get him into full flight poses where he's looking straight on. He can look down really good. You don't have a lot of tilt, but a little bit. And then you've got full rotation. Arms out at the shoulders. You do have to sort of watch those shoulder pads. They do seem to get in the way a little bit. Rotate all the way around. Bicep swivel, of course. We've got double jointed pinless elbows. You've got hinges and rotation at the wrist. All that good stuff. We got a normal ab crunch, so he goes backwards. Forwards really good. You've got just your standard waist twist there. Legs go out. Not full splits, but pretty close. They kick forward all the way, backwards slightly. There is a nicely hidden thigh cut, just sort of cut into the line work on the legs, which I really like. And then you've got double jointed pinless knees. They don't go back all the way, but pretty close. You do have a nicely hidden boot cut here. And then you've got rocker and really nice hinges down at those ankles, nothing really getting in the way. So he doesn't really have any hindrances when it comes to articulation. The only real difference about him compared to any other figure lately is that he's just sort of a standard figure. There's really nothing new in terms of his articulation scheme. We don't have any ball joints or anything like that. Standard stuff for Legends, but he does move really well. Where my interests really lie for this figure are, of course, the aesthetics, because we are going for, we're going for a really specific kind of thing. This is a retro figure, so it comes on a retro card. So, of course, there's that Toy Biz inspiration. There's that Iron Man cartoon inspiration. There's, of course, modular Iron Man from the comics inspiration, but there's also Marvel vs. Capcom inspiration, whether they're going to call it out or not here. That's definitely part of the equation when it comes to this figure. Now, this is the original one from last year, 2020. Honestly, I do not remember when he came out, but this is still a stellar Iron Man figure. The finish is very different, and then the torso piece, the upper torso, is different. So he has been retooled to allow for a unibeam accessory. So the diamond is more flush on this one, whereas it is recessed here to allow a new effect part to plug in. And then beyond that, the only other thing that's different, at least with his configuration out of the box, is this head sculpt. We do get this head sculpt painted up in the new classic colorway, but he doesn't come with it on the box. So you do get this more retro-y style Iron Man head sculpt, which is good to be able to differentiate the two. So it's not exactly just a repaint. You know, it's a repaint, but it's not. It has some new stuff, but it is overwhelmingly the same figure. I do still really like this sort of candy-coated finish, though. But beyond that, this is a really solid Iron Man figure. I love the high gloss on him. I think he just really pops, especially in some highlight situations. He is very shiny. He's very factory fresh, very clean. The red and the yellow absolutely play off each other really well. Sculpt is great. I love the body. I love the proportions on this. Musculature on this Iron Man suit does look really good. I really like the way they incorporated the diamond to work with this accessory that we're going to talk about in a minute. And I'm really, really digging this head sculpt. You know, it's very classic, but it's very modular, but it's very classic at the same time. The line work on the top looks really good. There's not a lot of paint on this guy. What there is pretty clean, like knee pads. You've got the little buckle here, and then the lines on the head are pretty clean. The majority of this figure is cast plastic, though, so I'm pretty happy with him. And again, it kind of adds to the finish and the overall high gloss sheen on him, because it just makes him look, really, I don't know, like really fancy to me. Like something about this just has that sort of really shiny thing. Oh, shiny, new, it looks good. It's fresh, that kind of thing, and it works really well, especially in conjunction, again, with the older one. They're very similar in that finish regard. It's just a difference of how the plastic was made. So you've got, you know, your standard pearly metallic stuff here, but then you've got your normal plastic just happens to shine like a beacon. So I'm really happy with the finish on him. Love the colors, love the sculpt. I was already a fan of this figure, so of course getting it in a different way with some newer changes and some new stuff is definitely going to be a little more enticing. Now, as far as accessories goes, this set is of course, you know, a more premium thing. It's not a regular figure, so it does have more stuff, and it also has a higher price point. I do think we get a decent amount in this box for the price point, especially when you compare, you know, the fact that the signature thing here is also the signature thing in the new Mafex Iron Man. And while that cannon doesn't go with that Iron Man, I think you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with this set, especially if you're someone like me who doesn't buy Marvel Mafex stuff. So I don't feel like I'm really missing out now that I have this guy. So we do get a decent amount. I'm pretty happy with this stuff. We get some hands to start with. You get a set of fists on them in the box. We get two other sets. So you get a set of repulsor blast hands with lateral hinges. You get a set of trigger finger hands, which of course is very weird for an Iron Man, with vertical hinges. We get the Tony Stark head sculpt, so we get Mullet Tony, and I'm really happy with that. This is, whether it's a good look for him or not, it's an iconic look, and it's one I definitely remember. So you get the mullet with the mustache. There's some nice paint shading on this. There's good photo printing on it, because of course we're in that photo printing era for comic figures. But it's all about the hair sculpt, and it looks great, and it's very much a product of this era of Iron Man. And then we also get what I mentioned. We get this head sculpt, so we get this guy back out here. We have his head sculpt as well, done up with this new red and yellow color scheme, and he has the blue eyes instead of red, which goes along with the effect parts that we're going to get here. And speaking of effect parts, we get this one, and I'm not a big fan of this one. It's okay. I mean, I'm certainly up for them giving us more stuff, but this thing's kind of, I don't know, just kind of janky to me. It fits on his right fist, so it's keyed, and it's just sort of like this big thing with energy exploding everywhere, and it's kind of droopy. It's how it's positioned in the plastic that kind of makes that happen, but it just sort of looks haphazard to me. You know, granted, I'm not ever going to complain really about getting effect parts, but I'd love to see this one maybe honed in a little bit more. I feel like it could be a little bit better, especially if it was a harder plastic. It's just sort of all over the place for me. We do, however, get probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Marvel Legends effect part of all time in this set, because of just how ingenious it is. So I mentioned the recessed diamond. We have a unibeam accessory that will peg right onto that, if I can do it. It just pegs right onto the chest, and it looks like it's bursting out. So of course this is very dynamic, very unique, very different. I really like all these big energy beams jutting out. It reminds me of like a Kamehameha effect that we get from a Figuarts, you know, where you get these beams like sort of coming through their fingers. This shows like it's sort of, you know, a little unstable. It's getting ready to blast. which is really cool. I just think it's incredibly dynamic and different, and I'd love to see them do something else with this down the road. I mean, it can't be unique to this figure forever, right? So that's really cool. And then we, of course, get the, well, maybe one of the main draws for this entire set. We get our Proton Cannon. And this thing is enormous, and it does have, you know, I mentioned he has trigger finger hands. It does have a grip for him to hold it. And, you know, if you saw the thumbnail, you don't need a stand for this. It does come with one. You know, maybe long-term display, you're probably going to need to use that. But if you just want to get a picture, he is capable of balancing it on his shoulder while holding it in his hand. And I'm pretty happy with the way this thing turned out. It's very light, it's hollow, but it has a lot of paint on it too. You know, let's take this stand off for a second. Like, there's a lot of paint on this. Move Tony out of the way. We've got the effect part here. Let's talk about this real quick. So this is the same kind of effect that recently came with the Retro Apocalypse. It's just the big energy blast. This is probably the most disappointing aspect of this because, I mean, this thing has a humongous, ridiculous blast. I know there's probably no real efficient way they could give us something like that in plastic, but, you know, it's what I want. But there is a lot of paint on this. Again, there's pink in the barrel. There's all these red dots all over it. You've got red accents here. You've got more black all over it. You know, it's not covered in paint, but it's still pretty heavily painted, especially for an accessory in Marvel Legends. So, you know, just taking at face value, you know, you're getting a really solid Iron Man with 3 head sculpts, with 3 sets of hands, with 2 effect parts, and you're getting this, and you're getting the stand, and it only costs like 20-ish bucks more, roughly, than the regular price point for Marvel Legends. I would say, again, that you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with this thing, not to mention the fact that this cannon is an incredibly iconic aspect of Iron Man. It's one of those big Marvel vs. Capcom things that people have wanted for a really, really, really long time, and they nailed it. I mean, they did a great job of incorporating this, and it's huge to boot. So yeah, overall, I am very, very happy with this set. Honestly, I've not really been able to put this Iron Man down since I got him out of the package. I'm enjoying this guy quite a bit. He's just a really iconic version of Iron Man for me. You know, this is my era of when I was a kid reading comics and was huge into this version of Iron Man. Of course, you know, I remember it from the comics, from the cartoon, from Marvel vs. Capcom, of course, as well. And it built on to one of my already favorite Iron Man figures. At this point, this probably is my favorite Iron Man figure. I love how they incorporated that blast effect. I'm not happy with exactly everything with this figure, but for the most part, there's really not much to complain about. It's a really, really solid Iron Man figure that moves great, that looks great, that has a lot of accessories. He comes in a pretty awesome package if you happen to want to keep him in that. And again, you know, Proton Cannon. It's something I know a lot of people have wanted for a very, very, very long time, and Hasbro absolutely nailed it. They did a really good job incorporating a lot of different things into this package. So that's going to do it for this look at the Marvel Legends Retro Modular Iron Man. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.